Good morning, students. Yesterday we talked about the genesis of the preface and Wordsworth's aim and objective in writing the preface. We will continue with the same, and today we will focus on the main theme, which is Wordsworth's attack on poetic diction. So, the theme which dominates the preface and which Wordsworth pursues most consistently is his argument against poetic diction. One of the critics has said that the immediate object of his attack were the gaudy and inane phraseology of contemporary poets. More generally, Wordsworth was arguing against a theory of poetic diction which was current throughout the 18th century. The belief not only that some modes of diction were best avoided in poetry, but that the other modes were specially suitable. I'll explain this with an example. Thus, a poet might write reddening Phoebus instead of simply saying rising sun, and green attire for grass with no particular intention but that of increasing the elegance of his lines, and such elegance was considered desirable. This theory and practice fell into discredit during the early 19th century, partly because of Wordsworth's growing prestige and influence. Wordsworth's fundamental objection to what he elsewhere calls a vague, glossy, and unfeeling language is that to separate poetry from ordinary speech is to separate it from human life. Now, Wordsworth has talked of poetry as communication. For him, the great value of poetry is that it permits the sharing of experience and the communication of truths. Characteristically, he compares poetry with prose, thus emphasizing its communicative power, and does not draw the traditional parallel with painting, which emphasizes its aesthetic qualities. Now, Coleridge has criticized Wordsworth for a lot of his views. Though Wordsworth's argument against poetic diction is forceful and cogent, its terms are often inexact. This is Coleridge's criticism. His phrase, the real language of men, sidetracks important questions, and by using the word language synonymously with diction, he obscures the fact that language involves the organization as well as the choice of words. Moreover, he runs some risk of setting up an opposite but equally false standard for poetry, whereby none but commonplace words shall be used. His theoretical preference for the language, as well as the themes of low and rustic life, obviously owes something to the contemporary tendency to idealize peasants, savages, and others who might have escaped the corrupting influence of civilization. Had Wordsworth really used rustic language, however purified in his poetry, the poetry would have been impoverished. This is Coleridge's criticism of what Wordsworth had to say. Now, for the themes that Wordsworth talked about was that there was an equal interest and a lot of significance in Wordsworth's views of the nature and function of poetry and the process of poetic creation. Wordsworth's view of the scope of poetry is even less restricted than his view of its language. It is the honorable characteristic of poetry, he wrote in 1798, that its materials are to be found in every subject which can interest the human mind. And this attitude underlies the whole preface. Now, what were Wordsworth's views and how did poetry complement science? In 1802, Wordsworth extends his own theory of poetry into the future in a striking passage which foresees the possible transformation of men's environment by science. Should this occur, he writes, scientific matters which cannot now be brought into poetry simply because they are not generally understood will become available for the poet's use, and by using them, the poet will help other men to become more fully and imaginatively aware of them. Now, in this way, does Wordsworth seek to extend the scope of poetry by bringing within its fold themes chosen from humble and common life as well as from the sphere of science. The preface is thus seen to be a forceful plea for simplicity both in theme and treatment. We'll continue in my next lecture about Wordsworth's views on the other parts of the poetic diction, such as the function of poetry and the poet and his nature. Have a good day.